So, I want to talk about the new melee that you can obtain now from the Galleon of Ghouls event. This is the Tonkkatt, a new tonfa that has a special mechanic that allows you to gain a bonus heart elemental damage when you gain a combo multiplier. You'll gain 4% heat elemental damage on the weapon for every one combo multiplier gain, to a maximum of 120 percept heat element with 30 stacks. The best part about this is that the heat bonus doesn't combine with elements from outside sources and from the elemental mods that you equipped the melee weapon. So basically, if I have equipped melee exposure, then modded the Tonkkatt with primed fever strike, then I will have a separate corrosive damage from the arcane, a separate toxin procs from the mod, and a heat damage from the unique trait of the melee weapon. Now, add decent status chance in your mod setup by equipping galvanized elementalist and weeping wounds, and a condition overload setup will be insanely powerful on this melee. By the way, before we continue, I humbly ask for your support by simply liking the video and subscribing to my channel for more Warframe content. This will help us with the algorithm, and I will really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and now let's continue with the discussion. Now, having a decent status chance in your build will make a perfect melee influence setup. There are two options that you can do with a melee influence setup. The first one is to straight up use Shocking Touch to mod your melee with electric. On the other hand, you can use the Dariga Sentinel trick with its Electro Pulse Augment. The Sentinel-specific mod will allow you to proc the buff of melee influence without modding for electric in your melee weapon. And this gives you the option to go with other elements such as toxin. Also, there are two variations for a melee influence setup on the Tonkkatt melee weapon. The first one is the usual fast and heavy attack combination. With this kind of mod setup, you can spread the heat and toxin element from this weapon. By the way, before we proceed to the second melee influence variation, I would like to talk more about this melee weapon's unique trait. First of all, having Tonkkatt mods is really not recommended for this weapon. Its unique trait will allow you to gain the heat damage when you gain combo multiplier, and heavy attack is one of the primary methods in lowering your combo multiplier, so you can either gain or maintain the full 30 stacks of heat damage. Honestly, keeping the 120% heat damage of the Tonkkatt is kind of hard when you are just smacking enemies the usual way. It's true that you can build up combo fast with a high range build and hitting multiple targets at once. However, one wrong mistake will reset the heat damage buff, as once the timer expires, then all the heat damage buff will be gone. Basically, you will need to make sure that you will gain one combo multiplier before the 15 seconds timer runs out, or else all that heat stack will be gone. Now, to gain one combo multiplier, you'll need to do 20 hits. And while it can be done by fast attack builds with high range, there are still cases wherein you'll move into another room and end up messing the enemy spawn flow. Also, based from all my tests, the sweet spot to maintain the heat buff of the melee weapon is by having heavy attack efficiency and equipping some initial combo mods. With at least plus 75% heavy attack efficiency, and then with the galvanized reflex and ready steel aura mod in your Warframe, you will hit that sweet spot wherein one heavy attack will lower your combo multiplier to 10 times from max. Then one hit will bring it back to 11 times combo multiplier, which then satisfies the requirement of Tonkkatt's unique trait. Now, all Warframes can be good with the new melee, but I strongly recommend trying this new weapon with Kullervo. Obviously, all melee weapons are great when used by this Warframe because of the insane red critical damage bonus provided by his Wrathful Advanced skill. But this is not the only reason why Kullervo is great with the new Tonkkatt melee weapon. His exception because of his passive also, that grants plus 75% heavy attack efficiency. In addition, the execution of doing heavy attack with Kullervo is flawless since Wrathful Advance can let you do this, and then gives you the red crit bonus also. Another thing that I love with my Kullervo is that I have a build fine-tuned towards melee monsters that has insane critical chance buff and also more damage thanks to the Roar Subsume ability. Now, in case you're wondering why I have Nira's Anguish and Nira's Hatred in the mix, then this is particularly for the second melee influence setup I have mentioned earlier. Slam build melee influence is busted with the Tonkkatt, and it can wipe a room full of enemies instantly. The good thing about slam builds right now is that the damage can scale big time, that the damage spread by melee influence will do decent damage to other enemies within 20 meters of the melee arcane proc. The best part is, slam builds count as doing heavy attacks, and each move will deplete a portion of your combo multiplier, hence allowing you to flawlessly maintain the heat damage buff of the Tonkkatt. By the way, to further maintain the heat damage buff of the Tonkkatt, I also strongly recommend using the rauta shotgun, which has a unique trait that allows every pellet that hit to increase the wielder's melee combo count. Now, if you can provide more multi-shot on this build, then this gun will be superb in terms of utility. You can get decent multi-shot stats with a Riven mod thanks to its 3-star Riven disposition, and you can also add Vigilante to further boost the pellet count of the gun. Also, with all these magazine capacities and reload speed buff, the rauta becomes a superb melee combo counter utility gun, which is perfect for the new Tonkkatt melee. With the shotgun, you can easily gain combo count and maintain the heat damage buff of Tonkkatt, and this also allows you to constantly hit those big numbers with a slam attack. Finally, I would also like to say that melee influence setup is not the only build that you can use for this new melee weapon. Like I have said, you can also go with melee exposure that grants corrosive, and it does better damage, especially with Kullervo, that can also grant red crit numbers to your melee. Also, melee affliction is really great when you are doing a slam build for this weapon, since you will mostly proc its effect and inflict those additional stacks to the target. Honestly speaking, the Tonkkatt is not a broken melee weapon like in Karnon weapons or other meta melee weapons in the game, but it does pack a punch, and the unique mechanic forces you to try another playstyle. In most cases, we do slam builds or just pure hack and slash for our melee, but with the unique trait of the Tonkkatt, it forces you to play differently, as you'll need to deplete your combo to gain the buff and maintain it. While others would say that 120% heat damage buff is not that good, well, I think you haven't seen enemies burn to crisp with a melee influence slam setup with this new melee weapon. So go ahead and try this one right now. Take note that you can farm this new melee on the Galleon of Ghouls event. For me, the blade drop rate is kind of abysmal, and I had to do multi-P runs before I got the last blade to craft this weapon. However, it's really not that big of a deal since the missions is super easy. So, that's all about it. I hope that I've included all the things in this video so that you can enjoy the new melee. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.